everyone, and welcome to our latest webinar. With the new year fast approaching, we're going to take a quick recap of 2023, and then we're setting our sights onto 2024 to look ahead to the biggest e-commerce trends to watch. I'm so excited to once again be joined by Brittany Rycroft, our Director of Marketing here at Ghost.
Hey everyone, what can I say? I can't stay away, especially not for an exciting topic like this one. I have been writing and researching e-commerce trends guides for years, and I am so excited to once again be doing so for 2024.
Yes, well, welcome back. We're very happy to have you. And we've got a few other fresh faces joining us today. I'm delighted to introduce Jimmy Furlano, one of our co-founders here at Ghost.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invite. Really looking forward to today's talk.
Same here, Jimmy. Now, we're happy to have you join in on that webinar fun that we always love having here. And I also want to throw a hearty welcome to another fresh face, Mr. Dustin O'Donnell, aka Dusty, our product manager here at Ghost.
Hey, everyone. Really excited to be here and glad I made the cut.
Welcome, Dusty. Okay, before we jump headfirst in today's topics, I just want to take care of some quick housekeeping items. So first off, questions, come one, come all. You can drop them in the chat. It's going to be at the bottom right of your screen. Our moderators will either funnel some of them to us to answer at the end of today's show, or they'll tackle some of them right in the chat. And if you have an idea of what you might want to hear from us in the future, any webinar suggestions, topics to cover, those are welcome too. We'd really love to hear from you guys. Now, finally, in the top section of your screen, we'll be dropping helpful links throughout the show on all the topics that we're going to be covering today. So if you want to take a deeper dive, make sure to check those out.
Speaking of diving deeper, I think one of the first things we want to do is take a look at some of the trends that we predicted for 2023 and see how they netted out. And with that in mind, we are sharing a link to last year's predictions. Check them out and let us know how they impacted your year.
Yes, so we've got all the trends up on the screen here, and let's take a quick look at them.
So I think we can definitively say across the board that these trends, they all grew over the past year, although maybe not in the exact way that we predicted.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at the affordability trend, the recession overall wasn't the big thing we thought it was going to be this last year. But that doesn't mean people still aren't a little spooked about spending their money.
Definitely, spoiler alert, you're going to see that come up in our review of the trends we're looking at for 2024 today.
We've got video being king up here as well, and that's still very much the case. Video is dominating as the format of choice for almost every merchant I talk to every day. For any non-believers, I've been asking them a simple question, which is really, you and your customers have a choice to read the book or to watch the movie. What would you rather? And for video commerce specifically, I've seen a lot of upticks in recent number of articles coming out, case studies on video commerce, shoppable video, live streaming, live shopping. There's definitely momentum building there, and most of which brands are experimenting in the space.
That's an interesting point, though, Jimmy. It still definitely seems to be experimentation land out there. I mean, at least in North America anyways.
Yeah, no question. We are still in the early innings of video commerce, but it's gaining momentum. We can feel it around here, no doubt. Massive social players like TikTok and Amazon are driving a ton of awareness and adoption, which really benefits the whole market, including Ghost.
100% agree with both of you guys. And if you want to go deep on video commerce, that is the place to go. But if you're just getting started with video commerce, I also want to give a shout out to our Video Ideas ebook, Lights, Camera, Success. It is chock full of literally hundreds of ideas for video content, all of which can be made interactive for free with Ghost as another plug. So today, though, to be clear, we are taking a broader look at e-commerce overall. The trends we looked at last year definitely dovetail into some of the trends this year, and we will get into that shortly here. I do want to call out one area that we definitely hit the nail on the head in the past year, though, and that was the idea that shopping seasons are moving. I saw things like early bird Black Friday sales happening in the first week of October, which was hilarious. Like the brand power of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, BFCM weekend knows no bounds, apparently. I think we're going to start seeing, BFCM in July coming up pretty soon.
Gee, yeah, it was insane when in early October, all the holiday merch and sales were in full swing. It took me a little bit by surprise. And, we talked a lot about maximizing what you were doing with BFCM in our last webinar together for this very reason. People are shopping earlier than ever, and merchants want to be the first to market with a sale. Which is interesting because, some people just aren't even thinking about holiday shopping that early. So I don't know that this strategy makes total sense to me, even if it's something that you've noted that's definitely come to pass.
I think one of my big takeaways from the last webinar was that the focus needs to be on the customer experience, or at least like creating a differentiated customer experience. I think that's really going to move the needle and really make an impact in your customer's experience.
Absolutely, Dusty. And Britt, any last thoughts before we jump into things for the year ahead?
I think I'm definitely gonna bring up a few points about last year's trends as we move into this. But for now, I am itching to get going.
Okay, so that's enough about 2023 then. Let's look ahead to the future. So for this session, we've looked at 5 overarching themes or trends that we think are going to have the biggest impact on the upcoming year in e-commerce. This list is based on conversations that we've had with brands of all sizes, what's been trending in the media, and where the market seems to be pointing. So first up, we're going to look at social shopping. So Britt, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, thank you. So frankly, it has been tumultuous. If to me, that suggests, though, we're either on the precipice of social shopping finally hitting big in the upcoming year, or the entire thing is going to finally crash and burn, crumble and fall, use whatever description you want. If you look back over the last year and a bit, in fall 2022, Meta shut down Facebook live shopping. And then about 6 months later, Instagram live shopping also got shut down with Wave the Dinosaur. And so not spelling the greatest of confidence in all things social shopping. YouTube, similarly, they discontinued. They used to have a product tagging feature. They launched their own affiliate program instead, which is cool, but actually kind of more limiting in some ways. But then you flash forward a few months from there, more recently, and you see that TikTok is dropping onto the social shopping scene in a whole new way. And there's been so much buzz about this. Dusty, I don't know if you've read anything, like you and I have talked about this.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't surprise me. There's like entire marketing campaigns focused around like, the For You page, or, TikTok made me buy it, Book Talk, and all these ways that the platform is like genuinely affecting people and how they spend. It only makes sense they want to invest in social shopping.
Yeah, and the big difference maker here is that TikTok doesn't care what other social platforms are doing or have done. They're actually pulling a lot from their Asian roots, and they've got their sights set on the likes of Amazon more domestically. So they're not just pointing you to a random brand's checkout. In these early days, they're actually owning the entire marketplace, including logistics, which is a huge shift from other social platforms.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've seen a lot of articles on how Amazon is taking note of this, offering their creators a flat rate fee for posting videos to try to make Amazon feel more like TikTok, and while TikTok is actually trying to make it feel more like Amazon, which is interesting. You can really see that e-commerce is moving more into social, and social, reversely, is moving more into e-commerce.
Yeah, and that's definitely a trend we've been keeping an eye on. We launched our shoppable video product to back the merchants in the fight, to give them the tooling that they need to compete against social. It really helps them de-risk their efforts, around all the effort that goes into building a community on social, etc. With our shoppable videos, though, merchants can create TikTok or Insta-like reels on a feed right on their site, all connected to their e-commerce experience. Depending on where the customer is in the shopping journey, we can also tailor the video and the message at that timing. So UGC videos for reviews, polished brand videos to drive inspiration, and then, educational videos to help through the discovery process. All of this obviously resulting in higher engagement on site and increased conversions.
And to me, I think shoppable videos also solves, one of the biggest question marks or challenges that we're all eager to keep an eye on with TikTok, which is that fulfillment side of things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, social media, I think one of the big reasons why they've failed at social commerce to date is they are used to soft products, which are eyeballs and content. They are not used to selling hard goods. They don't want to deal with stuff like warehousing or returns or logistics.
Yeah, agreed. And if TikTok is starting to curate what products they're willing to feature, that's the real limiting factor for brand, a real loss of control, right? So brands need to be careful that they don't become fulfillment centers for TikTok in the future because they've lost direct control and contact with their customers. There's an ongoing question about TikTok's future in the US, right? How long will they be there? How long will they be the dominant player in social? One of my favorite sayings is stop building your empire on rented land. And that's exactly what they're doing, if they choose to focus more on rented versus owned channels.
Okay, so long story short, we expect to see all this play out in 2024. Like Britt said, either social shopping takes off and TikTok finds a way to make it work.
And honestly, if they do find a way to make it work, you can bet other people are going to follow, like other social media platforms. Or on the flip side, demand's just going to surge through the roof from brands wanting to sell on TikTok.
Yeah, so either that or it doesn't work.
Yeah, or they think of another clever way to sell that doesn't involve TikTok pulling all the strings. So definitely something to watch this year.
Or brands get completely fed up with TikTok and just start creating their own social video feeds on their own website. Kind of like what Amazon is doing, but only catered to their own products and offerings.
Okay, so definitely one to watch for sure. Now, I want to say, tell us what you think. Drop it in the chat. Do you think 2024 will be the year social shopping takes off? So drop your thoughts in the chat. And while you're doing that, we're going to move on to our next trend, trend number 2, which is conscious consumerism.
Okay, so teeing this up again, this is where I mentioned we were going to circle back on some of the trends we talked about last year, like the affordability trend of last year. So affordability is part of conscious consumerism, but it is very much just one part of it. You know, interest rates have been going up, unemployment is going up in certain parts of the world. People are a little more precious about their disposable income, and that's just part of the big picture here, though. For example, instead of buying new all the time, the resale market is continuing to grow and grow year over year because people are trying to discourage overproduction and overconsumption, especially in the younger generations. But the cool thing is you're starting to see like a reverse trickle down, like a trickle up effect into boomers, and Gen X are starting to pay attention to this whole world of resale as well.
Yeah, and we definitely came out of COVID to a new normal, right? Like the worldwide economy is full of uncertainty right now, and many brands are just really looking to simplify, to consolidate their tech stack and their offerings. Put simply, if you're not adding to the bottom line right now, then it's going to be tough for software solutions to survive.
Definitely. And I feel like kind of taps into the whole like green, eco-friendly side of things too. I feel like more and more customers are saying that, you know, sustainability is critical in their choice in a brand, but they aren't naive. They aren't like, you know, they're critical of the brand and they're claiming to be eco-friendly, but they aren't going to fall for this like greenwashing that some brands tend to do.
Yeah, I'd say what's interesting though is how some brands are using this green movement to actually boost their bottom line. Like brands are offering up their own resale marketplaces and taking a cut, or they're discontinuing plastic bags and charging for fancier ones.
Yeah, and I think returns also falls into that category too. It's been a big one forever and ever and ever. It's been like offer free returns. And now e-commerce brands are starting to backtrack on that a little bit and starting to charge for returns. And their argument is to try and discourage people from buying more than they need just to try, right? I don't know if you guys are guilty of that at all.
Yeah, it definitely falls under that green argument as well. Free returns aren't only costly, but they're also affecting the environment. Adding a cost to it should make people think twice about ordering 15 pairs of jeans to try them on and return 14.
That's what I meant when I said, like, is anybody else guilty? Yeah, it's me. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Going back to something Dusty was saying earlier as well about how a differentiated customer experience is going to be the key to winning e-commerce in the future, I think that's worth mentioning again. You know, after years of removing all of the friction around things like payments, shipping, returns, brands are finally in a position now where they have the ability and need to differentiate themselves. So things like shoppable video or hosting live streams, these are great ways to humanize the experience, to educate and inspire people and your customers, to differentiate your brand in a sea of the same flat websites with just texts and images.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's a huge thing to call out. Conscious consumerism might be the trend, and the outcome for merchants is that they've really got to work harder than ever to connect with their customers and to foster that trust that they're the brand to buy with. And I actually think this is a great moment to kind of segue into trend number 3, which is pulling back the curtain, all in the name of fostering brand loyalty. So Britt, kind of give me your thoughts on this trend. What do you think?
Okay, so yet another callback to not one, but 2 of last year's trends. We talked about how beliefs matter in terms of standing for something, as well as the importance of authenticity. And again, those 2 trends definitely played a role this year. I mean, if you think of somebody like Lizzo, who's kind of, you know, on the precipice of being canceled, like, not to date this, we'll see where she's at in 2024, but she had a lawsuit filed against her in 2023. And these days, as a celebrity, it's not just about your music or your art, it's about your brand extensions. And it'll be fascinating to see how it, you know, impacts her brand extension, which is her shapewear line Yitty, is that line going to continue? Are sales going to be good? It's not just about will her next album sell anymore. But let's talk about where this trend is actually different from last year. So last year was all about authenticity and having beliefs. This year is actually about building a bridge between brands and individual consumers. So saying you're all about a specific cause or a movement and building a tribe of followers is one thing. It's a great thing. It's been something that's been talked about for years in marketing, especially if you're authentic about it. But this trend is about genuine connections, one-to-one personalization, exclusive content you can't get anywhere else, connecting directly with founders. It's been building up in fragments for a while now, but now it's becoming the expectation of consumers. I think all of us are pretty used to all access, all custom on social media, and now consumers are demanding the same thing from where they shop as well. Dusty, have you seen anything like that?
Yeah, I've definitely seen a rise in these like custom-made products or product builders, kind of like Nike's, Nike by You lets you create your own shoes, or if you've ever heard the brand called Skin it basically lets you create custom skins for everything from your iPhone to your PlayStation to your computer. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I can actually think of another custom one now that you mentioned that. H&M did this pilot. It was a body scan jeans project. So you went into the store, they had body scanners that measured your body and let you go through augmented reality and try in different styles of jean. Very cool. But instead of just saying like, hey, this is the right cut for you, they then took your measurements and actually at an affordable price, custom designed jeans for you that you could go and pick up in store shortly after. And this is what we're talking about when we say like next level connection, next level personalization is becoming the standard.
Yeah, and the tribe thing, it really is critical to this. It's not enough to say any longer, hey, we're all about green products, or hey, we're BIPOC owned. Customers, they have values, and they're going to shop with the companies that align with their values, like plain and simple.
Yeah, I think going back to what we just talked about with conscious consumerism, I've seen brands that really care about that concept, like Reformation. They actually work with customers to figure out, okay, what should we make next? So they'll run polls on Instagram saying this print or that print, or this cut or that cut, and that directly influences their manufacturing practices. It's also giving their shoppers a preview of the things that they have to come. And I think it's so smart because it's making their fans excited to shop when those items hit the shelves and also feeling like they've really been a part of that entire process. Which, if returns are something merchants are thinking about, they're also being more careful than ever with supply and demand. It's to their benefit to keep leaner inventory, so why not get your customers involved to help you do this?
Exactly. And I know a couple of these examples we've been talking about sound like kind of complex, like, Instagram polls that lead to manufacturing processes. But there are ways to bring this personalization concept kind of down to earth and simplify it and make it less complex. So Function of Beauty is a really good example of this. It's a beauty brand that specializes in super custom hair care products, DTC brand primarily, that used to sell online. And I think they realized there's a bit of a wall in terms of how many people were willing to go through that process and order these custom products. And so what they've now done, brought their products into stores in Target, I think is where I saw it. You can get their kind of core shampoo, core conditioner, and then you add boosters. You create your own custom product on the spot. And it's a little gimmicky, but it's something that didn't exist, 2 years ago. So you're seeing that like putting the personalization in the hands of the consumer is again part of this whole like loyalty building exercise that we're going through. Have you guys seen any other ones? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this brand, Maiden Home. It's this handcrafted custom furniture company. They just opened a flagship in New York to give its customers that tactile experience that you can't really get online with custom goods. So that's where something like Ghost 101 shopping or live shopping platform is like perfect for this. Lets you connect with loyal customers, potential customers even, and get that super personal connection that they've been looking for, pulling back the curtain on that design process and letting them shop in the store without having to travel across the country.
Yeah, it's so smart, really. And, I kind of feel like what we've been talking about, we're dancing around our fourth trend here. So if you guys are ready to move on, our fourth trend is really talking about the new retail order. So we spend a lot of time talking about e-commerce, but you can't really deny that e-commerce and retail are very closely intertwined.
Totally. And I mean, there's been so much hype and back and forth about like, will e-commerce displace retail and so on. And now you're seeing it about live shopping too. But I think this is very much becoming an and not an or storyline. Sort of how we talked about social and e-commerce moving into each other's space when we were talking about TikTok and Amazon earlier. As these boundaries become more blurred, you're going to see more and more of retail moving into e-commerce or creating stronger ties back to the frictionless experience we've all become used to online. For example, there's tools out there. I was checking one out recently called New Store that basically borrows a little bit from the Amazon Go concept by making the retail experience more mobile friendly. So basically what they're doing is equipping all of their floor associates to be portable checkouts. So you can walk up to somebody, they can help you with endless aisle if you're familiar with that term. If you can't find a product you want, they can order it for you on the spot. They can help you check out on the spot anywhere on the floor using their phones. And that means you're not having to go for, search the store for help or stand in line at a counter that has, 20 people deep to check out, or frustrated shoppers leaving because they can't find the product that they want on the shelf. My vision for the future is a world in which you can go to Costco and not have to stand in line to check out, but just check out anywhere in the store. I think that's pretty much everybody's dream.
I would call that heaven, I think. Britt.
Yeah, me too. Speaking about Amazon, though, like another behavior trend to really consider is this instant gratification for customers, right? Retailers are doing their absolute best to, compete with Amazon's ridiculously quick shipping and fulfillment options in their own ways. For example, the Bay, which I absolutely love, which is a giant department store up here in Canada. They actually incentivize you to pick up your order in store by giving you loyalty points. If you pick up the same day, you probably get more points. But it's really cool. It feels like an example of retail taking a cue from e-commerce, but actually kind of doing a better job of it. And it clearly works.
I totally agree with everything that you guys just said. I would also say that another interesting trend in this new retail order is seeing a shrinking down of those big box retailers or department stores to fit more urban locations. It's almost a DTC model of realizing they don't need to be all things to all people. So you're seeing little mini Macy's shops popping up in non-mall locations because they're seeing it's an easier way to intercept people from making online purchases if they don't always have to head to the mall, or there's somewhere closer to them that they can go and pick up an item, or even ship an item there or when they're ordering online to a nearby store. So kind of works out.
Yeah, and on the flip side, DTC is still experimenting with the true benefits of physical retail, no question. I did see that StockX, which has very little pickup options for customers, has started to offer some of their products in store as well, which is really cool. So again, that convergence between retail and e-commerce, right? Let's call it re-commerce.
I like the term. But look, we spent a lot of time thinking about and talking about this like post-purchase experience in e-commerce. But there's this like in-between step in retail that's coming to the forefront, and it's this curbside experience that we all know and love. That's kind of grown through the pandemic. It needs to be just as easy as online or in store because it's really not going anywhere.
All right, Jimmy, I know you're not a fan of this word, and I can't say that I am either, but phygital comes into play here. I know, it hurts to say. But we're seeing a surge in new tech that makes in-store shopping so much easier and really reminiscent of online. Things like cashierless technology or RFID, I know, it just rolls off the tongue naturally, doesn't it? Tills, where you can just drop items into a bin. And you're seeing adoption of that at scale at stores like Zara and Uniqlo.
Speaking of Zara, actually, they have some other new technology that they introduced this year that I really want to talk about.
Yes, that's our last trend, Britt. I know you're always ahead of the game. That's why I love you. But before we go any further, I just want to recap this trend. So retail and e-commerce are becoming more and more intertwined. These boundaries are increasingly blurred.
Yes, and it's not enough to simply think about omni-channel anymore. That's table stakes, okay? That's the baseline. Your customers are everywhere, and you need to be everywhere they are. They shop online. They shop in stores. They shop on social media. They shop in the pop-up shops. It really depends a whole bunch of factors, but we need to stop treating customers differently based on where they decide to shop with you. Really, we should be looking to provide the best experience no matter where they're coming from.
As always, well said, Jimmy. Okay, so let's go on to our last trend because I know Britt's super eager to talk about it. She's buzzing in her seat over there. And that's the tech trend that's on everyone's lips, which is AI or artificial intelligence.
And I am sure everyone was waiting for this one because literally not a day goes by where you aren't reading about the good, the bad, and the scary about an AI-driven future. There's a reason why we put it last because we knew everyone was going to want to hear about it. So here we are. Now, on the good side, what I was going to talk about earlier was Zara. Actually, there are all kinds of cool use cases and stories. We are going to touch on some of the good ones here. In Zara's case, they rolled out AI robots to handle their buy online, pick up in store services. So these robots, they literally go into the stock room, they pick up the items, and then they speed up the entire process. So thinking about that bridge between technology and e-commerce and retail, that's been kind of one of the overarching themes today. That is a great example of it, and it's one of the less scary examples of AI out there.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. And AI is all over e-commerce. You've got AI-driven product recommendations that are pretty much table stakes at this point. Plus, you have AI-driven offers as well that are really starting to grow in popularity. There's the classic exit intent pop-up window as well, and a bunch of other things too that are being used. And AI can detect what offers will work on what customers to drive the most sales, which is cool.
There's also these like AI analytics that let you track how people are interacting with your content and understanding, what they like, what they don't like, and it's this new level of analysis that's happening in real time, and it's happening at scale. And not to forget like the basic stuff like AI inventory management. It's funny that we consider this basic in this, talking about AI right now, but it's helping to drive faster purchases and smoother fulfillment. And as a customer, you expect to have your product you buy ready to go and ship when you buy it. And leveraging AI makes that even more possible for companies.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of good news stories for e-commerce and retail that we're talking about on the AI side of things. This past year was huge for generative AI like ChatGPT. The biggest impact in e-commerce, of course, was chatbots. They are sounding more and more like real humans, which is like a good and bad thing. But from the merchant point of view, the ability to scale support requests with minimal overhead is obviously huge for them.
I'm passing you the mic because as soon as I heard ChatGPT, I'm like, oh, Jimmy wants to say something here.
Well, first, as a founder, we're using AI every day at Ghost across every department. In short, it's the most incredible efficiency tool and definitely, I would say, the largest advancement in tech for years. We're definitely still scratching the surface, though, on what the future of AI holds, but I can tell you it's going to change the game. But Jess, you mentioned AI chatbots. I think the big fail here with most AI chatbots is that most of the time, if something is asking for support or help, they're looking for human support, right? Like people aren't just going to a chatbot because they want an automated response. We've been programmed not to engage so much with chat because we understand that it's an automated response. So it's like we do have a little bit of stigma, I think, to get through on that front. And in some cases, a human response is much better.
Yeah, and I think there's still so many other positives and possibilities when it comes to AI and e-commerce. SEO optimized product descriptions, let's call that one of them. Tracking down and analyzing crowdsourced feedback from across the web. Suggested marketing messages and promotions, like this is one after the other. And it's actually really crazy how much you can do with these tools. And we're, like you said, we're just scratching the surface of this.
Yeah, and I would say, if there's one trend on this list today that feels the most urgent, it's going to be artificial intelligence. We knew that. But given how rapidly AI has shown up in our world, to Jimmy's point, we use it daily at our company here. I think it's a little early to say exactly how or all the things that we're going to see AI do or influence in e-commerce in 2024. We just know that it is going to have an impact. And it might even influence some things we've got going on here at Ghost. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I can definitely say for sure our lips are sealed at this moment, but let's just say we at Ghost, we have a few things up our sleeves for 2024 as well. Okay, so that was a whirlwind tour of all the hype and buzz and exciting stuff that's coming up in e-commerce in 2024. So I'm going to drop a link to our official trend guide for 2024. So if you want to read a bit more about some of the things we talked about this session, go ahead, click on that link. It's getting dropped right now. I also wanted to say a quick thank you to Britt, Jimmy, and Dustin for being our physical trend guides today and walking us through all the riveting trends that are coming up for 2024. Now, I think we do have time for a couple of questions, and I'd really love to get the team's thoughts on these. So if you're good, I'm going to go ahead and pull some from the chat here. Perfect. Okay. So the first one we've got here says, I'm a small business working in ladies fashion. Feels like the big retailers are always pumping things out early. What should my timeline really be?
Your shoppers are ready to shop with you when you're ready to engage with them. So you're definitely going to get more pickup closer to the holidays. We know this for a fact. So it's about being creative with how you roll out your holiday campaigns. My opinion, though, it's never too early to start. We see these campaigns starting earlier and earlier, and the bottom line is people love deals, so the sooner you can give it to them, the sooner the better.
Yeah, and to pick up on that, Jimmy, I think you want to find a way to avoid hitting them again and again and again with the same offers, the same content, the same products for 3 months straight if you're planning to do an earlier launch. So maybe you tease things like, limited releases or rollouts over several weeks, or you can even host things like private events for some of your top customers. There are a ton of ways to get into this, get into the hearts and minds of shoppers before the Christmas and holiday season, without really overdoing it.
Totally agree. Okay, so another question here. Dusty, I think this one's going to be actually perfect for you. Does shoppable video connect with social video accounts?
Yes, it does. It actually integrates right into your Instagram account, so you can actually authenticate and access all of your videos and reels right in Ghost Admin, letting you create shoppable videos and collections from them in minutes. It's super easy, and if you need help, obviously we've got a great help center, and people like Jess here available to help you as well.
Thanks for the shout out, Dusty. Okay, so we've got time for one more. Where does luxury fit into conscious consumerism? Britt?
Yeah, I had a feeling I was going to get thrown to you for this one. Believe it or not, despite the financial crunch that's happening in kind of waves and pockets all over the world, the luxury market is not slowing down. I just read something back in October that said by the end of this year, end of 2023 anyways, the luxury market is expected to hit $75 billion. So keep in mind, while luxury spending might still be on the rise, I would also note that the percentage of customers that strive to buy luxury items might be on a downward trend. So the rich get richer, basically, is the subtext there. And that's where I'd focus my attention. That being said, conscious consumerism does tie into luxury and why it's growing in two interesting ways. On the one hand, people who are talking about conscious consumerism, they're avoiding things like fast fashion. Luxury goods tend to signal quality. So they might be more willing to invest in a luxury handbag because they know they're not going to need to buy a new one every season because the strap's broken, right? So there's going to be growth in luxury for that reason. You're also going to see growth in kind of a reverse way where younger generations in particular are all too happy to shop pre-loved or resale markets, kind of as a clapback to that luxury industry and say, we don't need to spend $15,000 on a bag. I'm fine with one from 3 years ago that's $5,000. That's good. And so it's going to be interesting to watch this one overall. It is growing, and that's kind of a few of the signals as to why I think it's still growing.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one for sure. Okay, I think that's all we've got time for today, unfortunately, but I would really love to keep the conversation going offline. So if you want to talk e-commerce trends with us and where video fits into that, we're always here to chat. So I'm going to include a link. So if you want to book a free strategy session with us, you can definitely do so and get started with planning the year ahead. And I just want to say one more time, a quick thank you to you guys. Thanks so much for joining me on today's webinar. Britt, always good to see you. Dusty, Jimmy, hope we'll see you again real soon. And there'll be more goodies coming from Ghost. So stay tuned and we'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for joining as well. Take care.